to episode 6 of the RGD podcast. The podcast that's really similar to just nestling your ears up to your best friend's bosom in a basement.
Just to make sure that they're still alive.
Yeah, it's just ear candy.
Hear that heartbeat.
Yeah,
Just
ear
candy.
That's hot
ear
and
candy.
sweaty.
Just a sexy little sleepover with your boys. You know what I mean?
This is gonna get wild, guys.
Today-
I don't know where this is going.
Today we're talking.
This is the OnlyFans
Hey.
content.
Nothing
Yeah.
weird happening over here.
Well, we will be talking sleepovers, I assure you.
Harder, Danny?
Mhm.
And we'll also harder daddy.
Clip it.
We'll also be talking about collector's editions. Do we love them? Do we hate them? Andy wants to keep things positive. We got the pigeon on our team.
Oh,
I
no.
can't assure anything. So with that, let's hop into a segment that we call PvE, parenting versus everything. Because parenting is lovely, but a kind of a lovely hellscape. And we're going to talk about sleepovers. How do you feel about them? What did you do as a kid? How do you approach them with your kids?
Ooh, yeah.
Luke,
Mm.
you very rarely do the honors of starting.
Okay.
Kick us off.
I was gonna say, I actually love when my kid has sleepovers because that allows me to go do whatever the hell I want to go do and just let them have reign of whatever they're doing. You know, they'll go play video games or watch TV, and then I'm just free. Like, my kid will leave me alone. It's great.
That's awesome. But is there a certain age that starts to happen or something?
That, I think, well, I'd say like I only started doing sleepovers for Hunter once I knew he was ready for that type of thing. You know, I'd say that was like 5 or 6. I don't know. That seems to be like a good age for it. I can't really remember when I started to do that, or like when our kids would start hanging out or sleeping over at each other's houses.
Probably about then.
Yeah, I'd say that was about a good age for it.
Did you do sleepovers when you were a kid?
Oh yeah,
Yeah?
all the time.
What was happening at the sleepover?
I would have.
Lend your ears to your best friend's bosom.
No, that's
What's happening?
yeah, I learned a lot of stuff. but no, I would have several of my grade school friends come over. We play N64 all the time, so
Hell yeah.
stay up all night playing GoldenEye, playing Smash Brothers. We got a really funny story where there were 3 friends and I that had 3 friends stay overnight, and we're gonna climb into our sleeping bags, so it was time to go to bed. And one of us thought it was a good idea for all of us to see if we could fit into one sleeping bag. Like, just everyone go in there, like, you know,
Comes the
see how many
next
people
one.
we can play.
We knew it was going to go there somewhere.
It goes in one direction, but not that way.
Someone was
gonna
going to
go
rumble
somewhere.
under the covers.
But
Somebody's getting nuzzled.
it's like trying to stuff as many people into a telephone booth as you could. So like we start putting the people in the sleeping bag, and I had the foresight to be like, I'll be the last one in because I can be the first one out, and if shit gets weird, then I'm okay. So
Turns out to be a
You know what they
69
do say?
sandwich.
Things that interest you as an adult imprint as a child.
But a friend of mine who was at the end of the sleeping bag, he farted in there.
Oh no.
And it was like, and he was known for being like the nasty motherfucker farter, where like just rancid garbage farts. And I didn't let them out. And
Oh, God, that's
I'm not
awesome.
sorry. So I guess it's like another prank. So I stayed at the front of the sleeping bag, like playing dumb, being like, what's going on? Like it doesn't smell up here. I'm fine. Yeah. And like they were just stewing in this trash for like 5 minutes. It was great. But yeah, no, sleepovers are great.
Damn. Rob?
Oh boy. I kind of like. Obviously, I have 3 kids of varying age now, and
I like that somebody watching this doesn't know that you have kids at all. And you're like, obviously. And it's like, it just looks like a guy who has 3 kids.
they have a shirt. I'm a dad Lori
Oh,
shirt.
God damn it, that's excellent.
Yeah, look, it even looks like me.
Wonderful.
That's pretty fucking cool.
But no,
Yeah.
I kind of like Luke said, is when the kids would spend the night somewhere, whether it was my mom's, the in-laws, a friend's house, cousin's house, whatever it was, that freedom of, you know, I don't have to take care of anybody. Like me and Emmy, every Wednesday the kids would spend the night at my in-laws' house because my mother-in-law didn't work Thursdays. So it was always like we always looked forward to Wednesday nights. Every week we'd go to the store and we would buy anything that said brand new on it. So like we were like Oreo kings, man. We were trying new Oreos every week, new kinds of chips, and like frozen pizzas from brands we'd never tried. Like just doing stuff like we wouldn't normally do with the kids. And it's nice, and I like when my kids have people over too, because it kind of like also gives them something to do, Instead, like Callie's one for sure that's always like entertain me because I'm bored. Like,
Yeah.
but when she has a friend come over or something, it's like she just leaves everybody alone and doesn't feel the need to have the attention all the time. on her.
Hunter's
I did-
just like that.
I didn't realize that as a kid, because I have 2 siblings and a half sister, but she's way older. Shout out, shut up, Jolene. Shout out, Jolene. She's awesome. But you know, like my brother and sister, or like 2 of us would be like, "Mom, we want to stay over at this place," and they'd be like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then I didn't have anywhere to go or something, and they'd just be like, "Are you sure you don't want to call all of your friends and find anywhere to stay, please?"
That's
Go.
what we do.
Yeah.
We do that now.
It's so great.
We do that
I
now.
didn't get it. I was like, I would just sit there as a kid and be like, my parents are being the coolest. I'm gonna call all my friends. I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna take care of one of you.
Oh, we'll do that all the
Like,
time. Like if
the
Link's
fuck
little
outta
Link is
here.
staying at Andy's and Romy's over at a friend's house, it's like, call someone, Cal.
Cal.
Who do you got?
Yeah.
Anybody in your phone? Call them and try to find somewhere that you can go
I'm
tonight.
gonna drop you off under a bridge. I don't care. You're just wherever you are. You're not sleeping here this evening.
Exactly. But yeah, like even like as kids though, I love sleepovers.
Me too.
More so staying at other people's house than staying at mine, because like my next door neighbor, he had like a Super Nintendo and I had a regular Nintendo. He had a PlayStation and I had a Super Nintendo. You know what I mean? It was kind of like one of those things. So he was always like the first person to get like the newer system. So it was like always the best staying at his house. Plus he always had like the name brand stuff, like Mountain Dew instead of freaking Dr. Hy-Vee, and like name
What was,
brand,
what was it, Mountain Thunder or something like that? What was the off-brand? Mountain.
There was
Mist?
a mountain. Oh, Hee Haw.
Hee-Haw.
That's what it was.
Hee-Haw.
I remember my dad's a big Mountain Dew drinker, and I remember when he came up here one time and we were at the store and he's seen it. He's like, "What the fuck is Hee Haw? Like, how do you go
That's the
from Mountain
Midwest.
Dew to Hee Haw?"
Yeah.
I can see Al saying that.
But
Ron was a
but no,
stretch.
I always like going over to his house, mainly because like I lived here and he literally lived right behind me. So, it was always cool going over there and getting to play the new cooler stuff and eating the coolest stuff and drinking name brand sodas. And
Yeah.
I know Hee-Haw here.
I always know that like when you had a sleepover, you were going to the movie store. It didn't matter whose
Also
house
true.
yeah, yep.
that you were staying. Like that was one of my favorite things. It was like we're either gonna
Yes.
rent a movie or we're gonna rent a game. Like it's gonna happen. Sometimes both, depending if your parents were feeling super cool. Like that was just a for sure
Yeah.
thing. And it was like having another sibling that wasn't gonna just beat you up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it was
But
middle-
they did. It's okay.
Yeah, like I was the middle kid, and so it's like your older brother was just always gonna beat the shit out of you. Like
Yeah.
it's nothing personal. He didn't dislike us. It's just what bigger brothers do
Yeah,
to
yeah.
littler brothers. And so it was just like, fuck yeah, like I would get to hang out with like a brother of mine that's not gonna kick the shit out of me, or find some game that is some way gonna end up in bodily harm for me.
Offshoot, have either of you ever tried to explain what movie rental store is like to your kids yet? It's like I've explained to Hunter what Blockbuster is like, and he's just like,
Romy and Callie know just because they were still
I
Yeah.
haven't.
when they were
I
still
haven't.
there.
Okay.
Like Link wouldn't have any
Yeah.
idea. He'd have no idea.
Yeah, they'd be like, "What? You did what?"
yeah, we were in
They were
Illinois
on
last
the
month.
wall, but you couldn't rent some of them. What?
But I say as I got older
wait
too.
till you're older. I'll explain the saloon doors.
As I got a little bit, probably like upper grade school, middle school, staying at a different friend's house, like his dad didn't give a shit what we did. Like, so we'd be like out at like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, running around the neighborhoods, throwing eggs at houses and cars. And we would create something called the mixture, where we'd just take stuff out of the ketchup, mustard, mayo, milk,
Oh.
anything we could pour in a bucket, and we'd find some random car, throw it on there.
Man, yeah.
We were those kids.
He's the worst.
Yeah.
That was like,
But
that
it was
too.
it was so
Teenage
awesome.
pranks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a few people. Andy Butcher, he lived like right down the street. We lived a 6-minute walk or a 30-second drive from one another. Like that's how many times we just.
Shout out! I remember him.
Dude, I still see Butch.
Funny guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Adam Wagner and Danny Clevitter, and then Pat Harrington and Brian Engler. Those were like the sleepover people that I stayed at their houses regular. Like Andy and I lived in the same neighborhood, Butch, and so that was like we just always walked back and forth to each other's houses. Adam Wagner, his parents and mine were like super close friends, so that was always like we got babysat together, and so that was just like a kind of a permanent sleepover Danny Clevitter also lived right down the street, and so we'd always hang out. And his house was always super fun to be at. And then Pat and Brian, those were the first like group hangovers. Those were like my grade school chums that I made that weren't kind of like installed by proximity or by parents. And so it was always like, dude, we'd stay at Pat or Brian's house and man, just have like wrestling competition. Like his brother would have people over and like other neighborhood kids. We just did all sorts of crazy shit. But it was always like 3 of us are staying at one location. That was awesome. Loved it. Sleepovers are the best.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Andy, what's your sleepover
Here,
situation?
like I've in my mind, because my memory isn't so great about the past for certain things, and this is probably one of them. And you know, we've had plenty of sleepovers. Not gonna drop any names or whatever, but like I should.
Throw those
But
bitches under the bus.
just in general, like you guys talking about that, like all those memories were flooding back, and it was interesting to see. Like, yeah, you go over to certain people's house and like they had the good snacks.
Hell
Yeah, for sure. And like you would play like, dude, we would play Sega Genesis, and it would be the games I was never allowed to play. Mortal Kombat.
One code?
Oh
Hell
my
yeah.
god, yeah. And we go through all the fatalities. I'm like, oh, holy shit.
Yep.
Yeah, and movies or whatever too. Like my parents were fairly strict about what I could and couldn't watch or play.
Do you remember the first R-rated movie that you saw?
Yeah, and it was over at my grandma's house, and it was That's Something About Mary.
That movie is incredible.
Man.
You didn't get any of that movie as a kid.
Dude, to be honest with you, I came out of it, and my dad's like, how was it? I was like, kind of sucked actually.
Yeah.
Like I didn't, and then I watched it later, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of
So
funny
wow,
actually.
yeah.
That is bad. 'Cause
So-
I remember the first one I watched, like any of the like Nightmare on Elm Streets, or
Yeah.
I remember watching those when I was like probably freaking 7, 8 years old, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nah, my parents would not. Nope.
Oh, man,
no.
I love that
Well,
stuff.
and also with those, like I would get nightmares. Like I was not good with that kind of stuff.
That's
But like it's. I feel like those sleepovers, it's like it's a social initiation. You know, it's what everyone kind of goes through, and you talk about weird, goofy kid stuff. Like I often like when Lincoln has sleepovers, like he did a couple of times for his birthday or whatever, and the kids were down here. And like you'd hear him talk about like just weird shit, like I'm just like that was me,
trying
you
to
know.
navigate the world.
Yeah. It's a very like because you act different, you know, when you go unsupervised, you know, obviously,
Oh, for sure.
yeah, and it's
Animal
pretty
House.
cool. And going back to like having like our kids do sleepovers, like. I wish, and I don't think none of my parents or in-laws are going to be watching this, so I can probably say this, but like I really wish they would they were more like, yeah, we'll take the kids. We do not have that, like where you were like, yeah, every Wednesday me and Emmy got to do this thing, and it was kind of like a ritual. I was like, holy shit, we have been not without these kids for a long time. And we
I'll
don't.
take them. How do you feel about child labor?
We don't. Great. They need to learn responsibility and to stop their goddamn whining. But we don't have that, and I feel like having that regular thing, and that's good for a relationship though too.
Yeah.
Like, to have that, and like so, like in 2023, we're planning like more regular, small vacations to kind of get away a little bit. And I think you're probably taking them one of the days, I think, Rob, for something
Well,
like that.
I'll be at state track.
She was
She's already
agreeing.
roped in.
She was consenting. But yeah, it's I think that's cool. I think that's important. You know, for them to be able to do that. And I hope they have fun. You know, I know they have fun because whenever Lincoln goes and has a sleepover, he's like, I want to go to people's houses more often, you know, because
Well,
he's
I
just
think
so used to like
I think it
doing
helps
this
them
thing.
like learn more, almost to have a sense of independence when they get to do that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because like they're still going to another person's house where there's a parental person, but like whether you do it or not, they probably feel like, well, Dad's not gonna be listening over my shoulder or hear, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
because I've overheard like sometimes like when Hunter and like I'll be in the kitchen and I can hear him talking, you know, and I'll be like, it's harmless, but yeah, I'm sure I did the same thing when I was a kid, you know.
100%.
But like, but yeah, I think I think it also helps, and I think some of the things, because I know, like you said, Hunter was probably closer to like 5.
Mhm.
Like my kids were always used to sleepovers because they were used to going to Emmy's parents' house
Right,
or
sure,
going
sure.
to my parents' house, you know, for a weekend or for a night out of the week or whatever. You know, so they kind of were conditioned to the sleepover thing early as they grew up, so they didn't think it was as weird
Yeah.
when they stayed at a random person's house. You know?
Mine's probably
that
more
would-
like 6 or 7,
I guess
to be
it's,
honest with
it's a little
you.
different for me because because my son's mom isn't with me, so like he'd go stay with her and back and forth. So he's always been pretty cool. Like this is where you're gonna be tonight, type of thing. So yeah, I didn't think of that.
Different kind of environment or whatever,
Yeah.
but
That's because I always felt bad. I didn't have any friends. This never happened, but I know it is a thing for a lot of kids that they get homesick,
Mhm.
and I just feel so bad for them.
That's
it's
Callie.
like really, and
Yeah.
it's just like it's
Oh, that
like
happened to me too.
like yeah, like what a bummer where they're just like I just need to go home. Like I had to go home because I got sick one time, but
Yeah.
like never like homesick. Cause like no, I just got the flu in the middle of the night, you know,
Oh,
and then it's
sure.
like I just
Callie-
want my
Callie's
mom
that
to
person.
be there,
She's,
you know.
she out of one
It's
out of
like,
probably
oh.
every 5 sleepovers she's been to, she's wanted to come home. Or like one time, she was staying the night at a friend's house, and they went to get ice cream, and she accidentally like dripped ice cream on the seat, and she was afraid that she was gonna be
Oh,
in
no.
trouble.
Yeah.
So she wanted to come home, and like. You know, or she gets bored, and I think it's just because that's just what she
Some
says
people just like
to
to be
want
at
to come
home.
home.
Yeah.
and I feel like Arya is probably gonna be like that a little bit. I mean, she's only 5 right now, just turned 5, but because she's real attached to Christy, real attached to Christy. But yeah, myself, sleepovers cool. It's a rite of passage, you know. It's like you said, it's like that independence that you just kind of you go out and you just like, I'm away from my parents, away from my safety net, you know. It's something that you got to do, like one of those almost developmental milestones, I kind of feel like, as far as socially. So
And you're blissfully unaware that your parents are in fact like talking to the other parents, and
Yeah.
they trust
Yeah.
the person that you're with. You're just like fucking out of here. No parents, no rules. You know. And
Well,
I will give
especially,
people
like-
shout outs, even though Andy won't. Jake Smith, you're also on that list because the R-rated movie. Yeah, we used to go over to Tony Dolter's house, and down in his basement, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Go fuck yourself, adults.
Moving on to our real topic. Let us know what you think about sleepovers in the Discord. Tell us your favorite sleepover stories.
oh, it's
they're
also why I'm so
ridiculous.
fond of circle jerks. I forgot to say that.
By that he means hanging out with a circle of friends, just talking
Jerking
shit.
it hard. What?
Beef jerky?
Harder, Daddy.
Dude,
Yeah,
hard,
Daddy.
clip it. Love beef jerky.
I've got this. You know, I know we're trying to keep it positive, but the price of games has gone up, and that's okay. But it seems like we're also losing out on the things that we get as gamers, right? You don't really get a physical copy for a lot of things anymore. When you do, you open it up, and maybe it's got like a code on the inside for like a little bit of a good, but there's no like manual anymore with art books and that kind of stuff. They'll maybe
shame.
pack in like a digital art thing, but you usually have to get like the next version up. It's not included in the $70 standard, and so even a digital deluxe is starting to be like $90 per game. That's getting pretty steep to not have anything.
Mhm.
And so I want to talk about collector's editions.
Mhm.
One, do you guys buy them or would you buy them? And two, what would go into that perfect collector's edition? 3, how much should that cost? To give an example, I'm gonna kick it off if that's cool with everyone. The Harry Potter Legacy of Hogwarts. I think it was $250 or $300.
Wow.
But what they included was a book, a spell book, with a floating wand.
that went over top of it. I think the wand had to be plugged in. They should have just used magnets.
Yeah, but yeah.
But
But how do they work?
nobody knows.
It's
fucking
magic.
magic.
Yeah.
Science has no idea.
Come on, you're a wizard, Rob.
We need to figure out how Walt can put some juggalo paint on
Yeah.
it.
but I looked at that as an example, or the Elden Ring one with like the statuettes
That was
and
a
stuff,
cool
and it was
one.
like it was a highly detailed thing that was, you know, the statue itself, if you tried to buy it, probably would have been $100, and it's like those are exceedingly expensive. I probably would only pay like $150 for a collector's edition, personally. But those ones felt like, dude, if you're gonna buy something and we're gonna throw some money at this, like they gave you something worthwhile.
It depends. I feel like it's like the we're starting to get into the age like, okay, people hate NFTs, right? Okay, all right.
I love them.
But
You want to come over and see my collection?
but guess what? With these digital deluxe editions or whatever special editions, we've been getting these bullshit NFTs for years now.
Absolutely.
For years now. In fact, we've got these NFTs, but we don't technically really own them. They're like items that are on like the in-game characters or whatever. And I know, like you said, like trying to keep in the spirit of positivity. Like it's fine because we can like be like wish something is better, or we can criticize something, and that's because we love it.
Absolutely.
You know. But we also, if someone wishes to be like, no, I was all in on that, you know, I'm like, hey, we don't want to yuck your yum, man.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really dug that and you thought you got great value out of that, that's great because that's your money. You know,
Yep.
you know what I mean. But I feel like back in the day, collector's editions, I mean, when it wasn't all this digital stuff and you got more physical, I mean, you got a map, you got these fucking coins, and you got a statue or whatever. I felt like those were a lot more, you just got a lot more for all that. And now with the collector's editions being so like, and it's like limited edition, and then you've got these scalpers and everything
that's a
like that.
problem.
Like it's a problem. It's a huge problem because then people are reselling this shit, or they're not, and you're gonna see like Assassin's Creed 3 box sets 10 years later on a shelf at Walmart.
Yep.
But
They still got one.
$5 basket.
yeah, right. They still got one out there. But I feel like it's a problem when you're gonna do that and sell it at such a limited quantity when it's like, or you know, maybe just sell it like piecemeal. Like if it's something that like is really that people really love, you know, like have it be in your store. Maybe make it limited edition for a little bit, and then put it up in your store because people want to buy that. They want that figure. They don't want to pay out the nose for it, you know, off of some third-party seller.
Would you do like a day one variant or something like that? You know, that it's like, oh, well, like if you bought Final Fantasy 14 on this like day one thing, it's like, yeah, you can get the same statue, but this one has like a slightly different colorway.
You could, but there really
accessories.
needs.
Well, I mean, the Xbox One kind of did that when it came out. Like, if you bought, and they had the day one edition Xbox Ones, where it literally said on the console, like, day one
Yeah, yeah.
edition,
Oh,
and
that's
it
cool.
even gave you an achievement for it. Like,
See, that's cool.
Yeah, you know.
They're the only
It's
ones
cool,
that-
but at the same time, like once again, with the bots, with the resellers, like they really need to figure out. And I don't know if it's. This is just me speculating, but I don't know if they just like, well, they sold. We don't care. You know what? If you guys, this is the mark. If you guys are gonna go out and be dicks and act like that, then fine. We have our money,
Yeah.
you know. And I don't know if it would be a certain way to do this if they actually cared enough, you know, to do this. Where they could make it a little bit more fair.
Well, I think they did
I
that.
don't know.
I think they did an okay job with that with systems, right? Where it was like, hey, no, you're gonna like queue up and you're gonna make sure that this is being sold to a person. And
A
if somebody
verified
wants to
account,
go
yeah.
back and resell
They did
theirs,
maybe like 6 months to a year into it, maybe
Yeah.
like it was like, oh, this is a problem, and
Right.
like, and then they finally slowly adjusted it.
But it had never been that kind of problem in the past. The resale market
That's
hadn't
true.
been
That's
like
true.
that. And I don't necessarily blame a company that put something cool out that was limited edition and then, if the market is there, I mean, the market to me kind of ends up dictating it. It would be different if they pulled like a Ticketmaster, where like Ticketmaster holds tickets and releases only a couple, and then puts some into StubHub, which it also owns, and resells them at a massive markup.
Yeah.
You know, that it's like, oh, whoa, like,
Blink-182 tickets.
yeah,
man.
like you're controlling the supply and demand to intentionally fuck your customer over. Like, I think that's
Yeah,
just
that's ethically
dirty.
wrong.
But it's like, no, Microsoft released that day one edition, and if somebody bought it and decided to resell it, like, it's not like Microsoft was in on the deal and got a cut afterwards. It's like they sold the system once, and they're like, our transaction's kind of
Clean.
over.
Yeah, it's
you know,
clean.
like,
It's clean on there.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I do agree with you. Like, I hope that they do things to try to limit the amount of scalping that happens, so somebody doesn't buy up 20 of something just to flip it.
Well, most recently would be the Metroid remaster. Like,
Yeah, the
they released
physical
that,
copies
it
are
was
so
like
scarce.
$40 for the physical copy, and then people were selling it for $200+.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Sucks.
You know,
Why would I don't know why people would do that, to be honest with
They
you.
know that people
make a
probably,
quick
yeah,
buck.
they're gonna make money. They
I
know.
mean,
It works.
yeah,
The
I,
FOMO.
I guess
The
I
FOMO.
know why, but it's like you could also get but I guess for the very much physical collectors. But I feel like there's a lot of physical collectors, and I've seen some videos out there that it's like, it's not worth it for me to keep this massive physical video game collection anymore when I can literally sell this. There was one, shout out RGT 85, sold his completely, he had a huge retro collection, sold all of it. He's like, it doesn't matter anymore. I got this, he replaced it all, he made so much money, but then he got this little mini PC. He's like, I can play all these same games on it, except better. I can up-res them, you know? He's like, and all I want to do is play them. I don't need to look at them, you know? So I think some people might be falling out of love a little bit more with that concept. But to get back on the special editions, I mean, fuck. I wish I wish they were offering more in the special editions that wasn't digital. That I would I might go like, did they have one for Final Fantasy 16? Did they have one with a statue in
yeah,
it?
it was like $300 or something like that. I think it was like a different statue.
Yeah, I
Is it a cool statue?
It was a cool
Like
statue.
It was
Is
a
it
cool-
$300?
because
I
I
think
like
it was like $200-$300.
yeah, 250, 300. Like, and I like back before they announced like that, like I almost thought, I'm like, Final Fantasy 16, like I'm gonna get that special edition, but like I don't, even though I had the statue, I don't think it came with enough to me justifying
so
that. You know, the statue's cool, but like even how tall is the statue? Does anyone shout out at anyone in the comments if anyone knows
17 feet.
Dude, if it is, I'll pay $300 for that. That's cool. But I feel like these statues are like this
Right.
kind
About a
of.
foot tall.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, not even really. I feel like they're like 8 inches or something like that.
Well, like back in the day, the Skyrim collector's edition, I got that in the Statue of Alduin. The dragon is like sitting perched on top of one of those like dragon walls that you can like learn the spells from, and it was like this big. Like it was super.
That's
detailed.
sweet. That's sweet.
Yeah.
That's worth the actual money then. And then, like I said, if you get like a map or some
Yeah.
coins or some shit.
Fallout 3 did that too. I actually have it came with a lunchbox.
With
and
what
a bobblehead.
Pip-Boy?
Pip-Boy.
No, I didn't get the
Oh.
Pip-Boy.
Oh, not the
yeah, I
Pip-Boy.
wish I had the Pip-Boy. Actually, you can buy a Pip-Boy now.
Yeah.
Like they're making one.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
You wear, yeah, and you can actually, it's like functional too.
That one was like, it was less functional, but it was a
Yeah.
fully wearable, like
Mhm.
full
I
size
missed
one
out
that
on
came
that
out
one.
with like, and it wasn't. I don't recall, but I don't feel like it was like egregiously priced,
Mhm.
considering what they packed in with it.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
actually fucking cool.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, all these digital deluxe editions, because most of them will be like, you know, you get to play the games 3 days early. You get you get extra items. You get.
The starting weapon is gold.
I got Diablo 4. I got I pre-ordered it so I could do the beta for the weekends and try that out, which was great.
I
thought
didn't pre-order and got to play the beta.
I got to play both beta weekends, so fuck you,
Ooh,
okay?
that's
But also, I should have got the double down because I wanted to get the double down. I should have did that, but I got the standard edition because any of the stuff, and they're like, and they're like times 20 tier skips. I'm like, fuck, no, none of that bullshit. Like, I actually like that game well enough where I want to play that game to get through it. Like, I don't want to skip through it. Like, I don't care about PvP. Like, I will play and go through the PvE, and if the game is as good and the events are as varied and everything like that as they say they will, I will want to play this. It will be something I want to sit down, and even if I'm just watching a podcast, or listen to a podcast, just go through. But
What should they physically? What should they have packed in? Man, I'm like dying. I've been drinking lemon water, and I feel like Zach Morris from that episode. And they, like, it gets too tart, and they can't sing. Yeah, that's how I feel right now. It's not good for a host. No more lemon water in the future. What would they have? What should they have packed in that would have made it worth it for a special or collector's edition? And what's the price that you'd pay?
are you talking about it for a digital one, or are you talking about for a physical
Like,
one?
I'm assuming that we're all, at least in my world, like, I'm thinking digital game. Because that's just kind of how everything's moving. Like, physical games sometimes aren't even offered. But if you have a collector's edition, they'll just send you an empty box. Neat. So just, that can fuck right off. I don't need an empty box of something.
Yeah.
So what's the physical thing that they would have to include to make it kind of worth your while, and what's the price that you feel like it should be at?
A badass statue, not like a 6-inch statue or some bullshit. Like, I want like that, like you said, like a big, like a big guy.
And you're willing like $300, or what's the price?
If it's cool enough, $300. Yeah,
All
for
right,
sure.
yes.
I think I'd go like 120.
Get like a Deckard Cain. Stay a while. You press a button. Stay a while. And listen. You know,
Like,
you
it's
sit
like a
there,
drawstring.
whatever.
It's like, oh, my sure.
Yeah.
I'd pay $300.
Yeah. I mean, just
Never mind.
something
Okay.
like that. Like, and maybe not just have a statue, but like having that voice option would be really cool. Like something different and unique. Like I am like, I'm not huge, and I mean I've got a bunch of shit around here, but like. Not like super expensive collectibles.
Right.
I mean, I know Blizzard will offer. Oh my god, they have this beautiful Arthas statue that's like $1,000, but it's big. It's a big guy from the ground from here. It's huge. It's big.
See?
But I
that
mean,
might be worth it to somebody.
it's definitely worth it to somebody.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth it, and it's beautiful. But I would. For an actual collector's edition, for an actual game, a physical one, I would probably say 150. Like, I wouldn't go more than 300. If it's 300, it better be a big fucker. I better get
a circle jerk out of that.
I better get
right.
I better get like a fucking cloth beautiful tarp of a map or something like that to hang up.
Yeah.
I better get some other trinkets like here or there, like maybe some like Diablo themed fucking dice or some shit like that.
Yeah,
like
that'd be sweet.
I mean, just some other pack-ins that you know that people will love, that give them some more value,
Yep.
you know? And for the love of God, pack the physical game into it. Pack the physical game into it. Like, I never thought that was, like, going to be a sticking point for me, but, like, that's so lame.
It is.
Like that's so lame. You're packing in, you put in a code, put in the thing, and then, like, an actual, like, maybe steel cases are pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like steel cases, like a limited edition case, you know, something like that, like something that like a collector would really like love. Like,
What about you, Luke?
There'd be two things that I really need. One would be like a strategy guide, like that Elden Ring strategy guide. Yeah,
Dude,
that thing
we're
is
the same
just
wavelength.
fucking brilliant
That
and
also
beautiful.
that strategy guide, it's a 2-book set, and it's like, I mean, like an encyclopedia thick.
it's wild.
And it goes through every little bit
In
of
the physical edition?
entire game. No, this was just a book that I found online, and I was like,
Oh,
it was
okay.
from Bandai Namco, and it was like, they were normally like $60. It went on sale for $30, and I was like, oh shit, I'll order that. I want to see what's in it. And Luke was still in the middle of playing the game. I was like, dude, you're gonna get way more out of this than I am. So why don't you take it? And then when I hop back, like, you get finish it. I'll flip through the book. It also included like a big map that like unfolds, and it was like,
Cool.
and that was
Cool.
immediately what I thought. That I was like, dude, the statue and stuff, like, that's pretty neat. But if they would have just stripped back and been like, yeah, the game was $110, $120, but you got this like super in-depth, beautiful strategy guide, like, fuck yeah,
Right.
man.
That would be one of the things. And then I actually want like a piece of equipment that you can wear. Like, didn't Halo have like a Master Chief helmet that you could actually
For
wear?
Halo 3, they
Yeah.
had the Master Chief helmet, but it was like a stand
Oh
that the game sat in,
Mhm.
and then the helmet just sat on
Yeah.
top of it.
no,
Okay.
I
So
want.
it wasn't wearable.
Okay.
But that was a little disappointing.
I
because
worked
thought it
at
was
I
gonna
worked
be
at a
wearable.
video
Yeah,
game
that is
store at
sweet.
that time when that came out. I remember selling those. Shout out Triple Play.
Oh,
also,
wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
I also sold sports memorabilia that I had no idea about any of that. But I remember selling those, and those are pretty sweet.
Yeah, but like a sword, a helmet, something like that that really stands out. That's the type of thing I would like.
Rob?
I mean, being the eldest member of the tribe,
He's old as fuck.
I remember when we used to bang sticks together for entertainment. No, I mean,
Walkie talkies is just 2 cans and a string.
I mean, when I was younger and more into collectibles and stuff like that, you know, I would have been more willing to, but it felt like collector's editions back when, like, even when you worked at GameStop and stuff, they were rare. Like,
They're
almost
very
every game that comes out nowadays
Has
has a
one, yeah.
collector's edition or has a bonus edition, you know, something along that lines. But like, when I was younger, I would collect all that stuff because I thought it was cool to me. But I think as I've gotten older, I just look at it as junk. You know,
Yeah,
a lot of it,
same.
you know, I've had a lot of cool stuff, and especially probably since my last move when we moved to the new house that I probably threw away that somebody probably would have wanted. You know, or I could have maybe sold for a couple bucks here or there. Like, I remember when Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles came out. This is more, I think it was more of a pre-order bonus as opposed to a collector's. But they had like a pin for each of the 4 different races of characters. And I remember I had the whole set of them. And I used to have them hanging on my wall in my basement and stuff like that. But then it just, at one point, they ended up in a drawer. They never got it. So I probably threw them away, even though I'm sure somebody would probably think they're cool. And I mean, I miss more, this is a little off topic of the collector's edition, but just more of the pre-order concept bonus as
Yep.
opposed to, like, I remember, I want to say it was Wind Waker. When you pre-ordered Wind Waker through GameStop, you got the Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition. And it had Zelda 1, Zelda 2, Link to the Past.
Yes.
I want to say maybe Link's Awakening was on there too, but I remember it was like the OG Zeldas. You got like that.
Didn't they have like Master Quest or something
They did,
like that?
and then
on
they
there
came out.
too?
They did come out with that one later. Had Master Quest. It
I
had
got that
Ocarina,
one.
Master Quest. And I
Yep.
think it had Majora's Mask on it, and those were all for the
That's
GameCube.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So you're mentioning a lot. You're dropping a lot of GameCube references.
But yeah, like like something like that, I think for me would be more willing to pay money for is
Yeah.
to have access to something like that. Like, for instance, if there's a new Castlevania game that comes out, and if you buy the bonus edition or whatever, you might get like a digital copy of the Castlevania Advance collection,
Okay,
or
that'd be
you know,
cool.
something like something like that. I think holds more weight. There's what is, I just had it and I completely forgot about it. It was Diablo 2. If you bought Diablo 2, you got free access to Diablo 3. So essentially you got
Oh,
Diablo
shit.
3 for free
Oh, yeah.
That's
for
cool.
buying like the more upscaled version of
Okay.
Diablo 2.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, it was still a digital thing, but by buying that you also got a second game with it. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's a lot of value.
I figure most
Yeah.
people, if they're going to buy Diablo 2, probably already had Diablo 3, so they weren't losing anything by doing it, because they
Right.
still already got your money out of it.
Yeah.
But like, kind of like Andy said, like the lack of physical edition, or physical discs in some of these collector's editions. Like, I remember when God of War Ragnarok came out,
Yeah.
everyone was up in they finally got their thing in the mail, they busted it all open, and there was a paper code in there.
Yep.
Like, I understand, like, you paid extra money for the hammer replica and all that other stuff, but it's like, if I'm a collector and I'm gonna buy that from somebody, I want all of it. And if there's not a physical game to go with it at the repurchase, like, because you can just buy a disc, but then it didn't come with it, you know,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
that makes sense.
100%.
that's
You
crazy.
know.
And that's I would land in the same thing, and it comes from working at GameStop, right? Like, I don't typically buy collector's editions. One, because it's $300 a lot of times. It's like the price of a system almost, and it's kind of like, what am I gonna do with this? And on top of it, like the stuff that they pack in, it's not good quality. It's just shit.
Yeah.
And
Not
it's like,
anymore. So.
a lot of yeah. Well, even when I was at GameStop, it was like some of the pre-order bonuses. Like most of that stuff was garbage. I don't know if anybody else worked there, but like they used to just send us like boxes of that shit. You know, and it was just like just rerun garbage. Every so often, it would be cool. Like you'd get like a DVD or a movie that like got packed in. There's this one, and I still want. Speaking of Andy Butcher, we were just talking about this the other day. That Atari sent it. I don't even know what this was a pre-order bonus for because we just had a bunch of them. So I was like, "Yep," but all of them were extra larges. I don't know if you guys have seen me, not an XL. But it was this Atari shirt that said PL Atari sign Y, and it was just a white shirt with red. And he just like a month ago he was like, God, I wish I still had that fucking shirt. It was super cool. And it was like, yeah, like it was a thoughtful thing that got packed into it. And right now, I just don't feel like they're putting a lot of thought into it. It's either like this massive statue that's $300 or just some digital garbage that comes with it, like that are basically just essentially NFTs. It's like I play base character in Fortnite. I don't give a fuck about an extra skin. I'm glad that some people do, but it's not like by putting that in your collectors or your deluxe edition, like you're not adding anything of value. Like I would be way cooler if they did something like, hey, there's, you know, the what are the strategy guides? Like people don't go buy those anymore because people just use the online walkthroughs or they watch
Art
a video.
books.
But
Art
it's like
books too.
Art books.
yeah, but don't give me a digital one. Like let me give me a quality one that
They do that.
want.
They do that though.
I
Like
know.
you go and you access it in the game. I'm like, I'm flipping through this in the game.
Yeah, it's like
I could
no.
play the game and actually see this, but
Yeah,
like,
I don't want the case of the game anymore because those are for me as well kind of like losing. They just seem like they're taking up space. But like I would love to have a shelf full of like art books or strategy guides of games and properties that I love, or neat like little things like looking at your amiibos over there. That's like a little statuette that comes with it that it's like, oh yeah, you can get this deluxe edition. It's $100. It gives you 3 days early access to the game, and you know you put in they already have your address. We'll send you this little statuette. It's like
100%,
it's like that'd be kind of fucking cool. Like the Ninja Turtles Cowabunga edition or whatever had this like massive collector's edition, and some of the stuff was kind of cool, but the whole time I was sitting there, I was just like, you either should have just made one of the old school Ninja Turtles, right? Like just an action figure, and just sent me one of those. Like
they're re-releasing those, by the way.
really?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you could have just like, you could have randomly picked one or let somebody select, or send me the pizza wagon that shoots the actual pizzas. I would have loved that thing. And it's like, just, if you're going to pack something physical in there, make it quality so it's actually like a collector's item worthy, that in 25 years if somebody comes across this property that they love, that they're actually like, no dude, I would pay extra money for that. I would buy that off you for $100 even though you bought it for or got it packed in for like 30 or 40, or like something that's going to be like insanely grand, and then it's going to be like $500 for this collector's edition. It's like, yeah, but it is a 16-inch Metal Gear Rex that's like perfectly crafted or something like that.
Oh yeah, and like I don't. And you could have it different tiers if you wanted to, like for the ultra enthusiast, someone who's really passionate about that. But like, and it's not just a statue or whatever, but like it's the statue, it's the dice, it's the limited edition, like maybe steelbook, like and like I said, it's like a collector type thing. You know, Pokemon out of everyone should be capitalizing on this bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, give them
They
an
don't need
ultra
to,
rare car. I know they don't need to, but you know
they
what?
know you're gonna buy the other shit regardless. That's why when a new game comes out, they're like, "Look what plushies we got out!" and they're
all
sold
the
out
toys.
immediately.
Yeah.
But anyway, but the same thing goes for like anything else. Like you said, collectors, like offer that ultra. Like, you know, someone who's super passionate about it will get that. But like, have like a bunch of stuff with it, and then maybe like someone who just wants the statue and the game, like another tier. And like maybe if it's limited edition, that's fine if it's limited edition. But I maybe have it available in your store later too. Like they run limit like what they do, and I fucking hate this, but with the Switch Nintendo 64 controllers, like they just had them. They were just out that they came out with a new batch of them for in the U.S. Gone, fucking gone. And I want to play the Ocarina of Time the way it was meant to be played.
Positive, Andy. Positive.
I'm sorry.
I would love to see when, again, like those thoughtful inclusions, things that are like a little like off the beaten path. Baldur's Gate 3, collector's edition dice.
Yes.
That would be so perfect.
That'd be
right?
so
It's
cool.
like a cool thing, and it's like, no, you can't get them anywhere. Like, it just got packed in with those. It's like a really cool, like, colorway or design or something like that. And it's like, it doesn't have to be that expensive of a thing. It just has to be quality, thoughtful
Right.
things. Like, the
I feel
price
like
and the
Larian
quality have to match.
I feel like Larian would do that though, but they have
would, yeah.
they have a collector's edition. I think. I don't know what all comes with it,
It's
but
going to cost you 3 toes and just for the
I hope it's the
low
small
price
ones.
of
Because
Take your
the
head, take off.
big ones make it balance. But yeah, I mean, it's not what. Hey, but don't make them like they used to.
They
I
don't.
think they're
They
there
don't.
for the people that I think want them, but if I was given control, I'd be like, just get rid of all of it.
That's fair.
Just stop wasting your money selling statues to people and put that money into the developers' pockets to
make a better game.
make a
yeah.
better game.
That's
There
fair.
you go.
You know,
That's
Guess
Mouth
what? It's
of
not going
babes.
into the developers' pockets.
Yeah.
And on that note, we'll go to our listener question because we respect you guys at least as much as we respect each other. So take that however you like. Our question this episode comes from Raider of the Ark, and he wants to talk about elemental representation. Right? When you look at the elements, they're often in games, but they're pretty much the same thing. Fire's always orange, lightning's always blue or yellow. So we want to know, is it time for a refresh? And if you got to pick elements, what colors are you going to give them?
Are we just talking about colors here?
No. Elemental representation, however you want it represented.
Okay, because colors. No, I'm not gonna have lightning be green. Like my brain doesn't work like that.
Okay.
But how it works, I feel like okay in Divinity, in Divinity 2, Original Sin 2, like you like how they synergize with each other. Like you can make you can electrify a cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
can electrify blood. You can take
you can
these
start
elements.
everything on fire.
Yeah, you can set everything up. Poison explodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, something like that. That's really thoughtful. And like Pokemon has done it in recent. Like the more fucking Pokemon they get, the more types that they get. Then the types of moves like and the resistances like they incorporate it like how it works in different ways, and it just interwoven now with these new ones with the Terra types or whatever. It's a new. So I mean, we're not talking about colors, but yes, how they interact with each other and how you and that's you just gotta creativity.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
what it comes down
I like
to.
that.
I guess like you can't stop lightning from being yellow, in my opinion. You can't stop grass from being green.
It should be white blue. I mean, you ever see yellow lightning outside? That's ridiculous.
Holy shit, you're right. I stand corrected. Never mind. Never mind. Fucking forget what I just said.
But I get what you're saying,
Yeah.
right? Like you're not looking for a refresh on something that just is an actual thing. The sky can just continue to be blue.
I would say more elements if nothing else, like how Final Fantasy did status effects. I don't know. You've got the fucking zombie element or some like plague element or something like that. Like and just doing, and how does that interact with everything?
It's one status I could do without is every game could just get the fuck rid of slow. I just hate that thing. What about you, Rob?
I mean, yeah, like
Fire.
it's kind of hard to change that up because I mean, when you see a sign with fire on it, it's usually red or orange.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like it's just a natural thing. I do like how Andy said it. It'd be cool to see more variations of stuff and how things can work together. But I mean, for me, it's kind of synonymous. Fire is going to be red, earth is going to be brownish, greenish. Lightning, on the other hand, I dig purple for lightning.
Purple is a good one.
Yeah.
Purple, red is a cool one.
Final
too.
Fantasy
Electric red.
15, 14, like the lightning elements, especially mainly from Ramu, are
Ramu,
usually
yeah.
purple.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the idea of like a flame, like blue to yellow to orange or whatever order it goes in. It's like the purple lightning is the good lightning, where the white lightning is like, it's gonna fucking electrocute you, but the purple shit's gonna kill you.
Well, it's like how it's augmented. Like you can augment the element. I think Divinity kind of does it like that. I mean, what other games that have examples of that where it takes the base element and then you add something else to it and it augments it? Like is there anything like that you can think
I feel
of?
like Divinity is a really good example of
It
that.
is.
Just you're combining, meshing different elements into a completely different type of status effect. Or
I feel like I have one on the tip of my tongue,
I
but
know,
I can't
I can't think of anything either.
I'll tell you what I
This is a-
fucking hate.
This
Okay,
is a bit of an aside.
Oh!
what I
White
hate.
lightning is also a type of moonshine.
White lightning.
Yeah, it's fucking pure gas. It's not great, but it'll.
Just like
I hate when games need to change the name of shit. Like fire is fire. It doesn't need to be like
Ragnarok.
like
there you go.
no, that's fine. I don't mind.
Yeah, that's
But what
fine.
I'm
We grew up
saying
with
is
that.
but what I'm saying is fire is fire. I don't need to play a game where fire is called fucking I have it in my head and I can't think of it.
Everybody's tip of the tongue. It's getting
God
late.
damn it.
Yeah.
But it's
Talking for 2 hours.
when I'm playing like a new RPG of some kind and I have to actually read what the description because
Yeah.
is this fire? Is it fucking water? I don't fucking know. Just
Yeah.
call it fire.
Fucking tell me.
Call it fucking water.
Sorry.
Stop reinventing the wheel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dragon Quest.
That is a good one too.
I'm like, what's Whiz Fang Pop? Like, I don't know what the fuck this shit is. And then
Yeah, crack is like ice.
Yeah,
It's like,
I
just
know.
call it
Yeah.
fucking ice.
Wild
God damn
Arms
it.
does that too. They
I
rename all the
mean,
spells
granted,
to really
granted
stupid.
though, it is something that's minor that stands out, and I mean, that's another representation thing I think too, and that's standard for the series though, and they've kept that going.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's
It's
okay to
recognizable, yeah.
differentiate it, but I see what you're saying there, but it's. You have to differentiate your game and your series from the other ones, so how are you gonna do that? I guess,
Whiz
but
Bang Crack.
bank crack.
Luke, what do you think?
Actually, how do you feel when games introduce new types of elements? I like corruption element.
Oh,
is always really interesting.
Mhm.
Gravity is always a good one when they do something like that.
Mm.
I know a lot of games playing the whole darkness and light one, but those are usually kind of generic for the most part. But I like when a game will have something oh, I never thought of this being an element.
That is cool. I like when and it's not to make too many things blue, but the hottest flame is that blue.
Yeah.
That blue white. That's why lightning is that color. It's electricity and it's insanely hot. It's got high voltage, right? And so it's I wish there was a little bit more blue to fire.
Mhm.
It doesn't necessarily have to change the whole thing, but I remember playing Tekken 3 and Jin gets introduced and it was there was always this kind of blue hue to the flame close to him and then it turned orange as it got further away, and I always thought that's a neat way to represent this rather than just being red or orange. It looked like a true flame and it looked like shit that's definitely burning super hot.
Yeah.
The combination of elements I think is really neat, to alter them, because it's no, what this one does and this one does, just start kind of blending them together, I think is cool.
Mhm.
But the one that I think doesn't get enough clout is smoke. I think you could do a lot of things with smoke from
Yeah.
when you watch the Wukong demo, it's he turns into smoke and then turns into another animal. It's not necessarily an attack pattern, but I just think smoke looks really cool. It looks awesome in real life, and I think it looks neat when it's included in video games in maybe some different ways that
Could you do that smoke to animal animation again you did with your hands? I like that.
I tell you what, smoke is not cool with, though. When you're trying to fucking enjoy a fire and it keeps fucking following you around the goddamn fire pit.
Exactly, right? It's a nuisance.
You have an affinity with smoke. You just don't know your element. You're
I
a
would
smoke
also,
bender.
I would also really love to see like chain lightning belongs in every game. It's just the cool. It's always the most fun spell. It's ridiculous to watch it just like light up a map. But I wish they would do it more like a cloud, right? Like it like shot up like an orb and then like chained down and then through
Oh
everybody.
man, that's a D&D spell. Yeah.
Right? Rather than most of the time it's like zap and
Straight
then it like
line.
zap, zap,
Yep.
zap, you know? And it's like, no, I want to see somebody just like throw an orb and then it's just like just like
Make it rain.
And this
Yeah,
is
like an
where
area
this is
effect
where I
thing. I love
think
that.
this is where I think Baldur's Gate 3 is going to do really good because it is running off of that D&D that engine, the spells. It's Larian once again coming off of Divinity Original Sin 2, and I really want to hear people in the comments here comment more because I keep on going back to Divinity and there's been some other examples mentioned, but like I feel like that just really does it because there's smoke in that game too for when you put out a fire and then there's fucking smoke and then you go and you try to like shoot through the smoke and it's like it decreases your accuracy.
Yeah,
See?
that's
really
That's
good.
actually
Yep.
useful,
Yeah.
Stuff
right?
like that, like the environmental interactions, and I think that, you know, just with Baldur's Gate 3, it's going to take it to a different level. I
Yeah.
could be wrong, but I don't think I am because it's Larian. And this game's been in early access for like the last 2.5 years or something like that. So like really drop it in the comments. Maybe, you know, throw it in, you know, Discord, you know, stuff like that. Cause, we definitely want those types of shout outs. This was a really cool question because
Yeah.
it really gets you thinking. And I don't think nearly enough games actually do it like that. And I think some of the Final Fantasy games have kind of dumbed it down a little bit, like from the past. God, I remember going back to some of those old Final Fantasy games, and there's like Zombie, there's
Break.
there's
Another good one.
I really like the idea of gravity. That's cool.
there's so I mean they've had Gravity in there too, but like they've had so many like
Non-elemental damage is an interesting one too.
just
Straight up,
like a
like, boom,
fucking
magic
beam of
defense.
light, but or several lights, but anyways, just a lot of different weird random ones
Yeah.
like that were in Final Fantasies. Like I would have to look up like oh fuck, what does this do? And those goddamn Marlboros fucking give you like at least 8 of them.
Yeah.
You
All
know?
at once.
Yeah.
They're givers.
So yeah, super cool question.
Yeah.
I like this a lot.
Keep the questions coming. Again, hop into the Discord. Definitely at Raider of the Ark and let them know that you appreciated the question as well and
Shout
keep
out.
writing them in. That's all for us today, guys. That was an excellent episode from nuzzling at sleepovers to collector's editions,
So farting in sleeping bags,
farting
and
in
circle
sleeping
jerking
bags,
Vandy.
and what element is that? By now, if you're listening to this episode, you've definitely joined us for some Valheim. You've probably in the midst of some mayhem in the Mario Kart economy, and you probably even kicked some ass at some RGD trivia.
Yeah.
But just so you know, that's not all. We will have more events coming. The online play together is always a staple. It's a way that we can hang out and actually play together without having to, you know, physically leave our houses, which can be a little bit difficult at times. But we'll continue to have live events, movies. I think right now, tomorrow actually, as we're taping this gang of goons has the entire E-row at the movie theater for the Mario
That's right,
movie.
baby.
And
Fucking
so,
shut it down.
yeah, it's
Close
gonna
it
be
down.
awesome. We've got Wizard Walt playing behind us. He's doing Fortnite duos every Thursday for Dubuque Esports League, so it's an awesome thing to learn about that, especially as your kids are getting older and they're looking for their activity. Maybe competitive gaming is a thing for them, and you know Walt and the crew over at Dell are making that a reality. Something I know that all of us would have loved to have when we were
Absolutely.
in middle school and high school. So stick around, get involved with us, join some events. They're super fun because that's why RGD exists, and we hope that the podcast will be kind of
a conversation starter and a way to promote that stuff in the future. So, thanks for joining us again, and until next time, RGD out.